My wife says going to her parents is a bit like going to the garden centre. I'm about to share with you and do something that is right at the top of my list of things that make me excited. Even so, they've really struggled and we've lost all the peas that were back there. My wife pulled them out yesterday. So this is my worm farm. The thinking is that's actually going to be a significant saving on our electricity bill. So we've just been in the hive and they're doing really well. Morning guys, so it's Saturday today. One of the things I'm going to do this morning is go and check on my bees. So I'm just going to grab my bee suit and my smoker. Here we go. Because today is the day I think I'm going to make a decision on whether or not I'm having a honey harvest this year, because they've struggled a little bit, this particular colony, for reasons I can't put my finger on, but I'm very, very new to all this. But we're going to go today, and like I say, today is going to be the day we make a decision on whether or not we're harvesting honey this year. But I've got so much to catch you up on. We have been doing so much. I've got so much to show you in the garden. So hang around. Like I say, there is lots and lots and lots that has gone on since we last spoke. It was my birthday yesterday. One of the things I got from my wife was an air fryer. That was my main present. So that's fantastic. I also got a really touching surprise present from some of my patrons on the Facebook group, on the patron only Facebook group. They whipped round, did a little whip round and a club together, and just it was just absolutely phenomenal. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't know anything about it, and I got a card in the post, which I'll read you some of the comments from it later. Absolutely fantastic. And yeah, thank you guys, thank you everyone, and thank you everyone. I've had lots of birthday wishes and stuff from people who follow me here, so yeah, thank you ever so much guys. I don't normally make a big fuss on my birthday, I've got to say, because I'm really difficult to buy gifts for, because I'm the sort of person, if I need it, if I want it, I just buy it all throughout the year. My wife's the opposite. She never buys anything for herself, so she's really easy to spoil on her birthday. I'm not quite so easy, but I'm going to put the money, I've already put the money towards a worm bin, a worm bag from the Urban Worm. So that's ordered and in the post, and I'm really looking forward to playing around with that with you. But like I say, I've got so much to catch you up on. I'm worm farming in the garden because I don't want to buy my red wigglers. We've got them in the garden, so I'm going to harvest them from there. I'll show you that. I'll get you caught up on all our plants. It's been a great week for our plants. They've really, really taken off. Oh, I've also, and this is where we'll start, I've also done something that is one of the biggest things I do that I'm keen to share with you guys. And that is in that bag back there, that big yellow bag is something that I'm going to be using in the garden, and I got it absolutely free. So I think we'll go back in time and we'll start there. Hi guys, it's Wednesday and I'm on my way home from work, but I'm making a stop on the way, which is why I'm talking to you now, because I'm about to share with you and do something that is right at the top of my list of things that make me excited, things that I'm excited about sharing with you guys. And that is, we're about to pick something up for free that has become available to me just because I spotted it and I was willing to ask. This chestnut tree that's been cut back right next to the road here and left this massive pile of wood chip. This main road here is on my way home, so I just popped down to the house and I said, what's happening with that? I've got a use for it, and he said I could help myself, so here we are. So this will be mulch for our garden bed. That was about as much as I could lift into the back of the car, so I couldn't fill the bag up any more than that, but I can come back again and get some more. Now, there was quite a bit of greenery in there, some leaves of ivy and maybe even some bindweed. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to put that straight on the garden. I'm just going to take it home, wrap it up and leave it for a few weeks. But by the time we get to midsummer, we've got like a mini heat wave at the moment. We've got 3 or 4 days where it's in the high 20s, early 30s. That might not sound hot to a lot of you where you are, but certainly feels hot to us here. And which is great. I'm not complaining about that. Absolutely love it. But it's still early June, so in July and August we'll expect temperatures like that a little bit more frequently, and of course less water. So at the moment we're watering twice a day because we've got quite a lot of plants that aren't established yet, and they really need that moisture not to dry out. We've got a few things that we've directly sown into the ground, but adding mulch will really help with that. We're not going to be able to do that straight away, so it's not going to be able to help us for the next couple of days, but for July and August we'll be able to mulch, and then like I say, it will stop that sun just baking the top of the soil. Right, I'm going to get home, I'm going to get a shower, and I'll catch up with you guys either later on tonight or tomorrow. So we've just been in the hive, and they're doing really well. This is full now of bees, or almost full of bees. They're drawing out the comb up here. This is where the queen is, where the brood is, where she's laying her eggs. And up there is just space for storing honey. So I think that we will be taking some honey off this year. I might leave them another few weeks, but they've done really well. In the last month or so, they've done really well. Everyone looks healthy. There's just a mass amount of activity. When I arrived here, this was just covered in bees. There's too much activity for them to all get in and out in time. Now, I was thinking that I'd have to adjust the doorway, because you see here, this is one of the blocks that you use to create the doorways, and that's the doorway. Really simplistically speaking, that's the sort of winter doorway, and then you turn it round in the summer and give them more space. And I was thinking that they still had their winter doorway because they were struggling to get in and out, or struggling to get in and out enough of them at the same time. You know, there was like a queuing system, but the doorway they've got is a nice big one already. So it's just that they're super active. So I'm really happy with that. All moving in the right direction. Now, I'd have liked to have set up some traps to trap some swarms. I know my friend Alan at the Homesteading UK podcast, he's trapped 10 swarms this year just by luring them into boxes. I haven't had the time to set up the nuke boxes and bait them, basically, which sounds a little bit like an excuse, and it is an excuse to a degree because it doesn't take a lot of time, but it's not something I've done before. I haven't got any lemongrass oil or anything like that, and it is something that I need to just allow myself some time to sort out and get into. Anyway, there we go. And that's it, we're back home. My wife says going to her parents is a bit like going to the garden centre. And we've picked up a bay tree. Fast forward again, it's Sunday now, and I was gonna just show you around because there's so much gone on. We've got in here, we've got our first tomatoes in here, which is very exciting. If we get a red tomato by the end of June, I think that'll be a record. Things are going really well. In here, everything's taken off. I've got one chili plant, which is very unhappy at the back there. But other than that, everything looks quite well. Now, what I did struggle with is I think I've been overwatering a little bit. When we've had that hot weather, I think we've been watering a little bit too much. We've started to see some yellowing on the leaves here. And one of the reasons for that could be overwatering. So we've cut that right back now. Part of the reason that we were overwatering, I think, is because we, as you guys will know, we only established these beds this year. So we've got that cardboard there, which in my mind was cutting off the roots to go deeper. I was really worried that the roots were just going to be shallow. This is the first time we've planted in a not established bed. So for tomatoes at least. So I think maybe I was a little bit too concerned about that, because since then I've sort of probed down through, and I think the roots are going to make their way through that cardboard no trouble already. So yeah, I've backed off on that. But we've had a couple of other issues elsewhere as well. So we've got sort of two successions here. We've got some that we sowed a few weeks ago and some that we sowed a few days ago. Some of these are almost ready to go out, not quite, and there's all sorts in here. We've got, obviously, all the usual suspects. We've got peas, we've got lettuce, we've got carrots, we've got some brassicas, and we've got beetroot. Some of that is almost ready to go out. Some of it we've already planted out, some of the sowing that we've done. We've also got all of our potatoes are coming up, which is great news. So we've got potatoes in, well, basically in these 3 tubs, but also those 4 buckets and the container in the middle. These are all potatoes. So nowhere near enough for my family for a year. Nowhere near enough, but Some. And you might remember we had that trouble with the beetroot earlier in the year with cutworms. We planted out, we basically planted beetroot all through here, and it just lost every single one. Well, we've transplanted out our next lot of seedlings, and they've been doing really well in these containers. So whatever pest it is, whether it's cutworms or not, we seem to have mitigated that issue. Also, these here are suffering a bit of shock from the transplanting, but these are the cuttings that we took from those tomatoes a few weeks ago. And you might remember that we put them in water and they developed roots in the water, and they have rooted really well, and we've got them starting to flower again. So any flowers that were on them when we transplanted them, my wife actually transplanted them, we took the flowers off so that they diverted their energy into, you know, the root system and developing the plant itself rather than trying to make fruit. And yeah, they've taken really well. One of the biggest issues we've had, and one of the biggest losses we've had, has been along the back edge of this bed. Over here we've got that piece of timber in there which is forming like a boundary at the edge of the bed, and we don't have anything here. It just sort of falls away. At the moment we've got plans to do stuff, but I think that's caused a lot of water runoff, and it's just been really difficult for all the plants back there. So you'll see all the beans along the back have really struggled. We went to my father-in-law's yesterday and the beans were 8 foot high, some of them. These aren't, a lot of these are sort of semi-dwarf varieties, so they won't get nearly that high anyway, but even so they've really struggled, and we've lost all the peas that were back there. My wife pulled them out yesterday. We just decided they were doing nothing, so we've lost them. But everywhere else in the bed we've got a mixture of really good successes and some okay work. So the salad's doing really well. The brassicas have all basically gone. I mean, they will come back, some of them. You'll see here that this guy is clearly struggling, but he will come back if we left it. But what we'll probably end up doing is just planting straight over the top of him and not worrying too much about it, which is what we've done elsewhere. In here this morning, look, we've put some leeks out. There were a couple of almost dead brassicas there that we pulled away, but in the cage, look at them. It's a completely different story. I'm so happy with this netting and this brassica cage. Now, one of the things I want to share with you is my father-in-law, what he does as part of his job is he goes and clears out old cottages. He works for a vast estate and they own several houses, like hundreds of houses. One of the jobs he does is when one of the houses becomes vacant, he goes and just clears out the gardens. And these are the sort of cottages, and it's an old farm estate with, you know, hundreds of workers. So some of these cottages have had people living in them for 30 years, 40 years. So he comes across all sorts of stuff. That's where that bay tree came from. But he's got one of these frames there that he says I can have. So we're going to be able to cage or net a whole nother section of the garden. So whether we continue this one that way or whether we put one over that side of the garden, we haven't decided yet. But yeah, what a great thing to be able to get another cage for free. So we've also, these are from our sowings, some dwarf beans. We didn't have too many in that first lot come up for whatever reason. We've got sown some more, and we've also direct sown some through here. We've got 3 rows now. And what I've done everywhere, not just here, any of our plants that have failed. So for instance, our first rows of carrots that we put in through here, which are going really well. Some of them won't be too far away soon. I've just come through and I've re-sown, direct sown in between. Any that didn't come up, we've re-sown with seed, and I've also done that with onions. Now it's a bit late to be putting onion seeds in, but we put spring onions in just to fill out the rows for any onions that didn't make it after the transplant. The courgette we thought we were losing is coming back, so we're going to have 3 courgette plants, which is plenty. And we've also got successional sowings out here already of lettuce. So we've got a little row back there, and then we've got these guys here. These are heading lettuce, these are icebergs. And we've started harvesting, we've started harvesting lettuce, strawberries my wife's been eating, and blueberries are nearly there. We're going to need to net these guys as well, because it's not going to be long before the pigeons work out what's going on over here. So we'll have to net them. My wife's made a little herb planter for the table. We did that yesterday, and we put some netting on the bottom of Timmy's outside run so that he can run free now without burrowing out. Also, before I forget, I've planted some watercress for the first time, sown some seeds. The last thing that I really want to get you caught up on, something I'm really excited about, is this down here. It's not a sandpit. So this is my worm farm. I want to start worm composting. I want to start using worm towers, but also I've bought thanks to my amazing patrons who they had a whip round for my birthday and sent me a birthday present, which was unbelievable and unexpected. They've helped me because I would never have spent the money on it otherwise, but they have helped me buy a worm bin, a special worm bag. Now the system I bought is called the Urban Worm Bag. Now that's from a company in America. They were all sold out, but I've managed to buy one that doesn't have the frame, so I'll build the frame myself. But the Urban Worm Bag is going to be on its way. I'm not going to say too much about that now because I don't have it, but when I do, we'll obviously go through it together. But my red wiggler worms, I'm going to be harvesting from here. So what I've done is I've put some cardboard down, and I've just put a little bit of sand on top of the cardboard. 2 reasons. Firstly, weigh it down, but secondly, it helps to keep the cardboard moist. When we've had the hot weather that we've had recently, I could spray this cardboard with water and it would dry out within 20 minutes or an hour. Whereas with this layer of sand on top, it keeps moist. So I'm going to wet this up again shortly, and that'll do for today. But then what's going to happen is it will draw all those worms just underneath this cardboard. So when my bag arrives, I can harvest them from under here. That's the plan. I hope it'll work. Obviously, it's not something I've done before. It's a bit of an experiment, but I can't think why it wouldn't, because the worms that you want for a compost bin are the worms that live in the top layer. Red wigglers is what they're commonly referred to. And this is like the perfect habitat for them, just above the soil, but below whatever it is that's going to be breaking down, in this case, the cardboard. So hopefully what we've done is we've created like the perfect habitat for them. And so long as we keep it nice and moist, we should have quite a few under here when my bag arrives. That's the plan. Keep your fingers crossed for me, guys, and we'll see how we get on. So I'm just going to trim off some of this bay now, because we don't actually have any bay in the kitchen. So we will just hang these upside down and let them dry out. And then it'll be ready for repotting. So I've been doing a little bit less inside over the last few days, just because we've had that glorious weather. We've still been doing all the usual stuff, you know, ticking on. And last thing to show you is this, my new air fryer that I got for my birthday. And this will, because we're cooking in a much smaller space and it cooks much quicker, the thinking is that's actually going to be a significant saving on our electricity bill, because we're not heating a big oven to cook anything that will fit in that size anymore. That's the plan anyway. Oh, there's more. Another birthday present I got from my wife. And this will be the subject of a future video. She got me these little mason jars because I want to build out of an old pallet a spice rack. I'll do that as a separate video when I get round to it. I'm really thrilled with those. So that's going to wrap us up for this week. Thank you ever so much, guys, for coming along with me on this journey. And stay tuned, we've got loads more planned. Hopefully this week, I have promised it already, but hopefully this week we'll be doing our sourdough discard crumpets and be doing that video for you guys. And who knows what else. Like I say, I've got this spice rack to make. We've got loads more going on in the garden. Got my worm bin coming at some point. Thanks again for all the lovely birthday wishes. If you'd like to become a patron, you can do that at patreon.com/self-sufficient-hub. Gets you access to a patron-only Facebook group. And if you're not a patron and you don't want to be a patron, that's cool too. There's a Self-Sufficient Hub Facebook group, which you can join anyway. So yeah, check it out, become a member, and there's a great community over there. And yeah, stay tuned. Press that like button, leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel, all the good things, and I'll speak to you next time. Cheers.